It's really tough out there trying to find a race that two players can play at the same time.
But if there's a will, there's a way. Today we're going to be reviewing the Ettinling Package. Welcome everyone, I'm Sean, this is Tony, and today we're going to be going over the Ettinling Package by Trevor Armstrong and Max Hickston.
Now this is an awesome race. It's a race option for players, but it's what we like to call an advanced race option, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah, it's a little bit more complex than your standard race that you're going to see in the base races or even some of the supplements that we have seen for official D&D. This essentially introduces a method of having two people playing the same race.
One in one body.
Right, but still having the individuality of playing their own character.
Now, this has been tried a couple of different times, but I think we finally found one that's gotten it right.
Yes.
This is a great way for two of your players at the table to play the same hosted body character and still have differentiating traits and things like that.
It still works, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a couple of things we want to check on that first before we get into the actual stats of this, and we're going to try and go through this as quick and succinct as possible. The first thing to note is that each head of the Ettin, you're basically playing an Ettin.
Yeah, a
right?
two-headed, like, giant kind of character, yeah.
Right. And each head of the Ettin has its own unique attribute traits and scores.
Yes, so each head, or aka each player, even though there'll be two of you, you will have your own stats and ability modifiers to worry about for yourself.
Right. Now, as far as hit points, though, you both share the combined total of hit points.
This is true. So you will be quite a chunky PC, but there are consequences to that, as we'll get into later on.
There definitely are. Armor class is another thing we should mention before we get off on that. The armor class is very simple. If one of you wears a high level of armor class and the other one is not proficient in it, it doesn't count that they're wearing the armor class.
Yeah, so you have to be considerate when picking out armor in this race. So
there are other things that go into this as well, but I think the only one we really want to touch on still is the death saves.
Yes.
Since both of you are going to be playing the same actual person, well, different people but same body, death saves are a little bit different.
Yeah, so essentially instead of the typical 3 successes and 3 fails, you now have to make 5 successful death saves to come back, or make 5 fails to actually die. And this kind of goes back into the whole double hit points thing, because it's 2 hit point totals, but that means you have to make those extra saves.
Now, each of you will roll on your death saves, however.
Mm-hmm.
I will roll when it comes to my turn, and he will roll when it comes to his turn. But that's kind of how it goes. It's kind of a neat thing.
Exactly.
So now, let's get into the differing traits. Now, this is an awesome race. I really enjoyed this. There was another one that we were checking out that was two-headed that didn't quite measure up, but this one definitely gets it down.
Yeah, definitely.
So they get dark vision. Their size is medium. Age is pretty exact.
Standard for a giant affair, yeah.
Standard for a giant. The ability score increase is 2 Constitution. So you get 2 Constitution
sense.
right off the bat. Now, new traits that they actually get though. The first one is
Double Speak. Double Speak is fun because if either head is required to make a deception, intimidation, or persuasion check, both players must roll a d20 and add their charisma modifier. Mm-hmm. If the head calling for the skill check scores better, they make the check normally. If the head not required to make the skill check scores higher, the head making the actual check does so with disadvantage. Ties go to the head initiating the check.
So this reminds me so much of like when I used to play World of Warcraft, or not even World of Warcraft back in the day.
Right.
And we had the ogres that were there that had the two-headed ogres. And it would be very simply their conversations would always be this way, no, that way. They would, kind of like go back and forth with each other. And that makes sense with this. So it's just the idea that if your other friend on the other end there scores better than you, now you've got disadvantage.
Right, exactly.
I think that's cool.
And speaking of 2 heads, you also get the 2-headed feature.
Mm-hmm.
If neither you or your partner are incapacitated, you have advantage on wisdom or perception checks. I mean, considering you got 2 sets of eyes going around.
It's true. The other thing that I like about that is that it's both of you have to be conscious.
Right, that makes sense.
So it's just kind of a point of like you don't always have it. It's kind of a neat little trait there, and that kind of works. I like that.
Yeah.
In addition to that, you get this trait called Wakeful as well, and that's pretty simple. If one of your friends is asleep there, if your friend's asleep on the other side, the other hand can be awake. So you don't have this thing where one can still move, the other one cannot. That kind of thing going on.
Yeah, it's very useful if you're kind of afraid of taking those long rests. At least somebody can kind of keep a watchful eye as your partner takes a rest. Now, this is kind of where we get into like the real awesome part of this race, because essentially it splits into the way and the will for the Ettinling.
Right. So now remember, you have that +2 to Constitution, and we're going to kind of just split this up. I'm going to be the way, and he's going to be the will. So in addition to the +2 Constitution, the way is the powerful version of this. The
bronze.
Yes, the brawn as opposed to the brain that's there on that. So you get +2 to Strength, which is kind of cool. Whereas the will would get
+2 to Charisma.
Right. And then I get an ability score decrease of I get -2 to my intelligence and -1 to my wisdom.
Yes, and in the meantime, I get a decrease of -2 to my strength and -1 to dexterity. Hopefully you're kind of seeing the trend here.
So now the way that works, though, is that because your stats are separated with it, you're actually getting a +4 to your stats. You
if you kind of think of it that way.
To strength.
Yeah.
But obviously I'm not the smart one.
Yes, and I'm not the strong one.
Right, and that's how that goes. So now the way gets a feature called My Sibling's Keeper, in which case when I see somebody attack my brother here with it, I can use my reaction to force them to target me instead.
Yes, very noble.
Of course, if they hit me, we still both get hit.
Yeah, that's kind of an issue.
Points, but it's kind of just a thing. And on your side, you get Guiding Hand, right?
Yes, Guiding Hand is fun. When a creature that I can see targets my partner that requires a Wisdom saving throw, I can basically kind of do my thing and give him advantage on that saving throw.
Which is good, because I could just see him like, reaching around with his one arm, tapping me on the shoulder, going, "Hey, listen."
Right, yeah, exactly.
Filling that in, which is cool. I also get Powerful Build on the way side, in which case I count one size larger, and my carrying weight, I can push and drag things.
Right, and then on my side, I actually get Commanding Presence, so I gain advantage on Charisma saving throws.
Now, there is one benefit to being the way.
Yeah, it is pretty nice.
I get to walk. I get a 40-foot walk speed, and you yourself get...
And I cannot walk. I have a walk speed of 0. So it's very interesting as to how this basically works out, both in social and combat really is going to be kind of like the big puzzle you're going to figure out with this character.
Now, the good thing about this, though, means that there isn't double movement that's going on. I, as the way, am the one who makes the movement on my turn.
Right, exactly. So really, the nice thing is, even though you have your individual ability modifiers and scores, you have to rely on your other half for certain things. You cannot do everything alone.
It's it's like a thing for this channel. It's hard for us because we ourselves can't do anything.
I think we've always been an Ettinling ever since we started this channel.
This is right. This is the new race for the channel. Now the good thing is with this too is they go into several different charts and tables in here and how to bend the rules to make the Ettinling work.
Right. There's a whole table about how to change certain spell conditions since you're kind of like having 2 targets in one, and it even goes to how Wild Shape would work or how you would change the duration for certain spells because of this certain race, and it's actually really awesome.
Now what's cool too is they add variant rules in there for things like the Battle Mage, Bloodlust, close-up magic, because you're casting with things that are being very up close.
Exactly.
So you've got that, and then he actually includes in here an entire section for a dungeon master to play an Ettinling. With roleplay tables.
Oh yeah, the roleplay tables are fantastic. It even actually gives you a table on certain duo phrases that you can kind of coin during your campaign.
Let's try one, shall we?
All right, we got a D10 here. So,
yeah, there we go.
All right, a 3.
So the go ahead.
Oh, that's me. It's something we'll need to eschew.
Bless you.
so there's a lot of great ones like that. Yeah.
Right. So one side says one thing, and the other one responds with another.
Right.
It's really great to actually include those things. It gives it so much flavor into this, which is really awesome. And then there's an entire encounter and adventure.
Yeah, there's a full module that you can run, and it gives you background on the story. It gives you all these different rooms of this dungeon. It gives you a full map, and there's like this kind of like boss of a Ettinling that you can fight, and they have like different motivations you can roll on, and there's a lot of great stuff that you can basically find in here. So the whole thing is 17 pages.
Right, and it's really great. You should definitely check it out. In fact, if you get it through our link below here, the author has given us a chance to give you 10% off if you go and buy it through our link, which is right below.
Yes, absolutely. I think this is a really well-made package. I mean, besides the fact that you get the awesome new Ettinling race, which gives you a new option for having 2 people playing the same character in a way, you get this awesome adventure, you get some NPCs, you get some great roll tables. There's a lot of great stuff that you're going to get within this 17-page package.
This is one of those exchange and abundance kind of things, right? You pay a little bit of money and you get so much for its impact.
Yeah.
Definitely check this one out. Again, that's the Ettinling Package. The link will be in the description below. And if you've got something you'd like us to check out, whether it be two-headed or single-headed or maybe many-armed, just go ahead and send it right down here to dmbrewcrew@gmail.com. We'll be happy to take a look at it, and it might end up on one of our videos.
Yeah, or it can end up on our stream. We do stream every other Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time on our stream called The Maw, where we actually get to play test things like the Ettinling on our live stream so we can test it out, try them out, and expose it to the audience as well.
Right, and remember, the best campaigns are always the ones that are homebrewed. So until next time,
keep brewing.